hello, howdy, and hello. Thank you for tuning in. I am Heidi Pop, and this is the Synaptic Circle. Why is it the Synaptic Circle? Because I am with like-minded friends and leaders and way showers, and we just synchronize our synapses one after the other. We usually have a common thread about us that united us all, and but we are going to spark our insight in one another. And I really am so honored to do this. This is our premiere episode, and with the help of some friends here. Some like to call them the old geezers, but I call them my gentleman friends.
The Three Musketeers.
Yes.
We're as old as they are. I mean, so.
Yeah, there you go. But I want to introduce.
I'm maturing.
Well, we're actually members of the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yes.
Way of putting it. Absolutely.
That's it. That's
Speak for
absolutely
yourself. Speak for yourself. I'm no gentleman, mate.
I have to roll up my pant legs so right now.
Well, let me introduce you. First, I want to share, though, that lovely little intro was done by my dear friend Terrance. And Terrance, several months ago, wrote me and said, "You know what, Heidi Pop? Someone helped me out back in the day. I'd like to help you out. Let's work on an intro together." And I got those little nudges to move forward from my good friend Terrance B from Down Under of Mr. B's Truth Seekers. Hello, Terrance. How are you?
G'day. Thank you for having me, Heidi. This is great. I mean, I don't usually do other people's shows all that often. I usually have to put up these two geezers, you know. Yeah, I know. No, it's wonderful to be here, Heidi. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. And I've had the pleasure of being on Truth Seekers with you guys as well. And that's where I was so honored. I know we've been Facebook friends, all of us, for a while, but we got to connect on Truth Seekers. So right below Mr. Terrance B right there, we have the lovely and amazing, world-renowned Mr. Jim Goodall, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, you're talking about me? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm delighted to be here. And, you know, the four of us on this screen, like you said, all share a common interest and a common desire to let the world know what we know. I absolutely adore this whole community that I'm in. I'm not a joiner of things, but this particular, maybe it's because we're all a little bit on the crazy side that I'm drawn to all of you. Robert, I went and spent 2 days with him. I don't remember any of it, but I spent 2 days with him. And
not my fault.
Yeah. Oh, it was too. What was it? It says Lazar 115.
Yes, sir.
It was your fault.
151. Yeah.
151. Okay. And I'm thrilled to be here. I'm doing a lot of fun things. My 29th book came out in November.
Wow.
I'm thrilled with that.
Congrats.
Never thought I'd ever be an author. I hated term papers, but been spending time in the jungles of Belize. We're going back here this spring, and we're going back in a big way. Hopefully, it all costs money, but I'm just delighted to be here and to be part of your initial, premiere show, Heidi.
Thank you, Mr. Jim. Cheers. And right over here we have Mr. Robert Bauer of Nexus Nexcast. Another platform is launching for you, which we were calling you Professor Bauer because you do have that filofax behind your brain of all the information. But thank you for being here. You want to tell us a little bit about that real quick?
First of all, I'm honored to be here to be with not only these esteemed gentlemen, but most importantly, a woman who when I first met you and then went and we did 2 or 3 shows we've been on. And I have admired you in ways that I have not seen in someone in a long time. Your focus, first of all, your energy and all that bubbly stuff is just awesome.
Thank you.
Because you don't see it in the authentic, genuine way that it comes from you. But second, and for me, that's really important today is the work you're doing with education and changing the way that schooling has been done and really focused on something that's near and dear to my heart, which you all have heard ad nauseum on my Informatica philosophy of frequency and energy and consciousness. And you are doing things. I remember the first time you said something about sitting around and doing circles and doing energy sessions. And I'm going, huh? What? Oh my, there's someone out there that
Hey, I feel
and is
strong
changing
about
the
that.
future because of it.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for recognizing that. And that is one of our common threads. We all usually have these discussions that fall under frequency and vibration, and we always bring it back to that. But there also is another common thread because I've been watching you all for a while. And Jim, I lost count how many podcasts you've been on. I mean, like really.
Well,
the
you know,
list goes
So is
on.
he.
Well, you know what? I'm the only one of the four of us that doesn't have his own program.
Yeah,
And I
but
do-
you're all, you don't
and
need
I-
it.
and
You're
I-
everywhere.
I do that because it's an awful lot of work. I mean, I've seen what has to be done when they're putting something together, and I don't have better things to do, but I like to screw off more than probably the most. And it's just it's a massive obligation to have to be somewhere every Tuesday or every Thursday or whatever, every week, or if it's monthly, or however you look at it. And I admire what all of you do. And my philosophy is, if someone wants me on their program, I don't care if it's just you and I, and you're just building up your your viewer base. I'm more than happy. If I can help you, fine. Yeah, I'm too old to go into something for fame and fortune. I've been married too many times to have any type of fortune, and I'm more infamous than I am famous. So I'll leave it up to you hardworking souls that do this, and I really admire
Well, that's
all
really
of you that I'm on with, and it's fun. I have like Robert and the old guy above me. Terry. We've been around for a long time. I mean, in 2 months, a little bit more than 2 months, I'm 78, and I've done a lot of things, and I have a great memory, and I'd love to share it. And until this platform came about, I didn't have that opportunity. So if someone wants me on and wants to hear me jabber for however long, I'm more than happy. And I've had people say, well, how long can you talk? I said, usually my voice goes out after about 10 hours. But last week,
you won't go that long.
Last week we went almost 4.
Oh, that's right. After we jumped off, you guys
Yeah.
kept going, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so cute.
And it was to the point where literally I had to go. But I'm delighted to be here, and dear, thank you.
Awesome.
You're absolutely charming, and
Thank you. That's
you light up my computer screen. It really, it likes seeing such a pretty face when I'm looking at some not so pretty mugs most of the time.
You don't say that to me. You don't say that to me. Yeah. I don't know. That's it. I'm going to spit the dummy out there.
I hear you about the commitment with doing it. And that's why I think I initiated this new little round of series. I do a kids' health series that's pretty regular, but I just really enamored with all these people I've been meeting that don't consider themselves anywhere else but at the level of humanity and just trying to assist others. You all have such beautiful stories to share. And I love just, conversing with you all. And like Mr. Poncho, hello, Poncho Zach. What are we talking tonight? We're talking a whole heck of a lot of random stuff. We'll probably keep looping it back to frequency and vibration. But what I do want to share is we do have another common thread. And I think that has to do ufology. I've been seeing all of our stuff that's kind of one of our common threads. And I know, Mr. Terrence B., you as well as myself, you've had an experience with the craft. Maybe you can share a little bit about that. Was that kind of shifted your whole world, didn't it?
Yes, it did actually. Look, take my glasses off. Now it all started with me when I at the age of 7, and I went to, I used to go with my mother on a Friday night to a CYO meeting. That's like a CYO, Catholic Youth Organization. And on the Friday nights, they used to teach all us little kids. I was only 7 at the time, how the ballroom dance and stuff like that. And they had, my mother used to look after the tuck shop and, you know, the drinks and snacks and things. And at 9 o'clock, we'd go home. And on the way home, she stopped on the edge of the corner, just literally around the corner from home. And she kind of looked up and she said, "Is that 2 moons I see up there?" And I looked up and I said, "Yeah," you know. And then when I said that, my brothers start running up behind me, and I said, "Hey guys, there's 2 moons up there." When they looked up, there was nothing there. And Mum says, "Oh, it's just us must be seeing things." Anyway, when we arrived home, we usually arrive home by about 9:15. It was about 10 to 10 by the time we actually walked in. We had some missing time. We didn't understand at that time. This is back in 1957. So that's going back.
1857?
yeah, no.
Okay,
Thank you, James.
Since I'm older than all of you, what can I say?
1957. And of course, my dad was waiting out. "Hey, where the hell have you guys been? You know, where you been?" He was worried sick. And Mum says, "Oh, we must have got carried away, blah, blah, blah." And we didn't have TV in those days, but we had a radiogram with the old valve jobs and that rich sound in it. And all of a sudden, there was a newscast came on and says, "UFOs seen over Sydney." Mum says, "Oh, that's what we must have seen," you know. And anyway, she said, "Come on out, off to bed, brush your teeth, go to bed, wash your face and everything," you know. So, okay, all fine. Anyway, sometime during the night, I woke up. I don't know what actually woke me. Of course, it must have been some sort of noise. And walked into the room was this glowing being, and it walked across in front of my bed and down between the bed. I used to share the bed with my brother, bedroom with my brother, and my brother was had his bed onto the right of me, and this being actually stood over my brother. And then when he turned around and walked towards me, it walked towards me. I screamed, thinking, you know. So within moments, my dad arrived there. And what I'll do, I'll just share a screen with you for a sec.
Yeah.
And just to give you an idea what this being actually looked like. This what I'm showing you now is compliments from John Yost from Alien Abduction Answers. And here we go.
Here it is.
And that's exactly what the being looked like to me.
Oh,
John
yeah,
Yost saw the exact same thing. Now, he didn't tell me when I met him. He asked me, "Have you ever had?" And I said, "Yes, I had an experience." And I described him. He said, "Oh, you've got to watch my documentary," he said. Well, you know, cut the story short, I couldn't get all of it because it's only on Amazon Prime in the US, not in Australia. Anyway, the following day, he said, "Do you see it?" And I said, "No, I couldn't." And he says, "Okay, I'll send it to you. Here's a password to my private vault. So you can actually watch, but don't give your password out." And all that. So it's fair enough. And I watched it. And when I saw this, I tell you something, it put every hair on my body standing up, you know. And when I spoke to him next time I saw him online, first thing I called him a bad name. I called him a wanker, excuse my expression. I said, "You knew, didn't you?" And he said, "Yes." He says, "I did." He says, "I know because I saw exactly the same thing." Anyway, wow. I was having these visitations on average of twice a year till I was the age of 13.
From 7 to 13. Oh,
yes,
wow.
Twice a year. And each time I always kind of put my head under the sheets and kind of, you know, because remember when my father came in on the first day, he turned around and says, "Come on, son, suck it up. Don't let your imagination grow wild with you." He was the first one in the room. But apparently, I cut the story short, years later, when I was an adult, it was only about 5 years before he passed away, he turned around and says, "Remember that entity you saw when you..." And he says, "I saw it too for about 3 seconds. But I didn't want to say anything." He said, "I didn't really want to say anything because it was only a few weeks before that my grandfather passed away. My mother's father passed away. And of course, it didn't want to scare everybody and kind of let everybody get the heebie-jeebies." So he says, "Yeah, But what you did see something. He did admit it to me. He says, you did see something. And I says, okay, but I live with that. But my last visitation at the age of 13, I woke up in a sitting up position in bed. And I looked down at my thigh, and literally I had a wound in my leg. And there's this being was holding something like a size of I'll say about 1.5 to 2 inches straw type thing in his hand. And all I could look, and I saw this thing in its hand, and I looked down at my leg, and I said, it's gaping big wound. And a figure came up like that. As you said, there's no mouth to this guy, you know. He went like that, and I fell back to sleep. And when I woke up, the first thing was just natural. I looked at my leg. There was nothing there, literally nothing there. And I thought, oh, it's my imagination going, well, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, a few years ago, there I in the shower and my foliate, and I looked at my thigh, and I thought, what the hell is that? And it's a very, very faint scar just coming through. As I've got older, your skin tone changes. You lose all the elasticity, and you get dry skin and everything. So I called my wife, and I said, Mary, have a look at this. And what's that? She said, it's a scar. It's a scar nearly about 3 inches long. So, oh my God. And she said, it's very faint, and it's like,
wow.
It's strange. Yeah, and it's still there.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Wow.
Okay. But that's that. And that's it. That was the last time I saw that entity.
Well, you said twice a year. Was it the same time each year? Like the same time of year?
No, look, sometimes I'll say on a few, couple of occasions, it was about 3 times.
Okay.
On a couple of occasions. But I'll say the average, I couldn't really put a date to when, how often, like what time of the year they actually came, but it came. It's an experience I had. I'm very, how can I put? I'm very fussy how I say these things, because I hear people say stories. They're not stories to me. They're experiences, and I can't say that's my story. It's not a story. It's an experience I went through. And the second thing that happened to me later on in life, I was 24 years of age. I can tell you the date was the 24th of June, 1974. I was living in England. I was living in England at the time. I went to England in 1965. My father went back home to England. He took the family. He wanted to go back and look after his mother in her twilight years. Anyway, I was living in a place called Cleveland, north of England, and I just got home from a jog, went to bed early. It was on a Sunday night, going on to a Monday morning. I had to go to work on a Monday. And I went to bed, and I was a very fit bloke, not long out the army, 6-pack, super fit, I really was. And you know, when you go to sleep at night and you kind of kick your leg and you kind of wake up and go, oh, okay, like you trip in your sleep and you wake yourself up. Well, yeah, I tripped in my sleep, but I didn't wake up. I ascended in a bait of light, just went up. Whoa. And again, like every hair in my body was standing up, like I was standing by a Tesla coil. And I was being escorted by an entity either side of me, but I couldn't move. All I can do is move my eyes. My eyes were the only thing I could move. And all I recall is going up in this bathe of light. And then I went into a large oval-shaped hall, and it had marble columns. So I can see with my peripheral vision, there was columns, and there was little people standing by these columns, and they came up like that, and it was a large oval-shaped room. And I was going down this, being escorted down this corridor, but I wasn't walking. I was floating down this corridor. And at the end of this corridor was this large marble, gold, orange type polished marble table with a gold edge around it.
Sorry.
Yeah, stealing the show. Wonderful. Anyway, somebody kicked the dog? Anyway, there was like a grapevine type shape going around the edge of this table, and it had hieroglyphs upper and lowers of this vine. And sitting at this table was this Nordic looking man, blonde hair, very chiseled chin, beautiful aquatic blue eyes. I mean, I'm really ice blue, beautiful blue eyes. And the strange thing about his skin, it was pale, but it had that sheen like a mother of pearl. If you ever look inside of a shell or clam and you see that mother of pearl look, that was the sheen of his skin. And he was wearing a white suit. Now, before I go any further, for years, I honestly believe I had a near-death experience. I didn't understand any of this. It was real. It's real. It's so real, surreal to me, like it only happened about 10 minutes ago. And so vivid. See, I can't remember the last bill I had. How much, but I can remember there's something that happened back in 1974. It's so crystal clear, like it only just happened. So it's burnt into my conscious, it's burnt in there. And he turned around. And this is the reason why I thought I had a near-death experience. He looked at me, he knew me by name, and he said, "Can you show me what you have done with your life?" Now, I did not feel guilty. Yeah, don't you laugh, mate. I didn't feel judged or scared. Actually, I felt quite serene, quite happy, and in myself, it was quite pleasant. And I didn't answer, and then he asked me the second time. Again, I still did not answer, and then he said, "Let me show you." And all of a sudden, from here I am in the streets playing cricket with my neighbours, and here am I looking down at myself. It's like I was watching my life go before the front of my eyes within a microsecond, just like a boom, like that. I saw it all. I saw my birth. I'm sure I saw a lot more. I've seen a lot more, but I can't remember it. Anyway, put all that aside. Yes. And then here I am standing in front of this entity again. And he said, "Now can you tell me what you've done with your life?" Again, I still did not answer. And he said, "One day you're going to come across a crossroad. And if you take the right path, everything will be revealed to you. Everything. And it will make sense and you will understand." And then he turned around and said, "Now what do you think? This is the closest you'll ever get to death. What do you think?" When he said that, I woke up with a punch in my chest. I was profusely sweating. I was freezing cold, and I was sitting on edge. And my partner I was living with at the time, pregnant with my child, of course, we were going to get married. She started screaming. She's a staunch Catholic, and she turned around and says, "You're possessed. You're possessed." And I said, "What the hell are you on about?" I could not move, but when I opened my eyes, you were floating 2.5 feet, 3 feet above the bed. And then you came crashing down. No, honestly, I still find that hard to believe. I really do. I don't know because I didn't see it. That was just now she ended up getting up. She grabbed whatever she could throw into a bag and she took off. If or the only contact I ever had with her was, "When are you going to pay child support?" And that was virtually by mail. But I did support my son all the way right through until he was finished university, actually. But put all that aside, she did contact me many years later, and she says, "After what happened that night," she said, "I suffered severely with anxiety." Right. And I turn around. Well, I can tell you now, when that following morning after that abduction, I didn't go to work that day because it's a split up with my girlfriend, my partner, and I had to go shopping. I needed some stuff, and so I went to the Safeway supermarket. And as I was walking around with a full shopping trolley, I walked underneath this fluorescent light, and it flickering, and it put me into a panic attack. I just left everything. I ran home. I lived across the road above a studio apartment above some shops. And I just, all I could think of was get home and strip off all my clothes and lay down on the tile floor in the bathroom because I felt like death was taking over and my heart was jumping out of my chest. I had a chronic anxiety attack, a panic attack. So later on that day, I went to the
Sheesh.
doctors. And I went to the doctors and I told them, and so anything unusual happened to you lately to cause all this kind of anxiety? And I told him what happened the night before. And you know what? He actually ordered me out of his clinic. He says, you're the second person that came in and told me that same story. If you're after drugs, go somewhere else. So you go now, or I will call security and have you mentally removed. And I'm kind of saying to myself, what the hell is all this about? I just want to see the doctor because I'm not feeling good. So I went to a different doctor a couple of kilometers away. He asked me the same question. I just looked at him straight in the face. No, nothing happened.
Oh.
And he put me on Valium pills. And anyway, 4.5, 5 months I was on those Valium pills. And I left Great Britain and returned back to Australia. And at Heathrow Airport, I got me Valium pills and just threw it in the garbage bin. Never touched them. I just dealt with the anxiety. And it took 2 years to get over it. And it wasn't until wasn't until about 2006 with the internet. And we had bulletin boards, and we didn't have MSN Messenger like what you got now. What was MSN, I think. Well, no, it wasn't, just bulletin boards. And I was looking at bulletins, and I read this article about this guy talking about Nordic aliens and what they do and what
Nordics.
They look like. And I kind of resonate. Mind you, in the meantime, I've read a lot of books on near-death experiences, and none of it resonated with me. But as soon as I start reading this person's experience and other people's experience, I'm thinking to myself, it's like revelations. It just kind of all the pennies just dropped together. But like the jigsaw puzzle just started coming together.
Wow.
And the strange thing about it is I never asked to go into do podcasting. I never really it wasn't on my mind. I never went out of my way I met these goons, or by chance. It's just like everybody I've met in this ufology. It's like we're on the same road and we met on the same corner. It's like we're pulled together like a magnet. It's like there's a reason. And of course, as this entity said to me, it'll all make sense if I take the right path. And I've taken the right path.
That's what I was just thinking.
And I'm not out to kind of convince anybody. This is my experience. It's not my story. It's my experience. And I don't care if anybody believes me or not, because I know what's real, and I'm sure there's lots of people out there that's experienced exactly the same thing and understand where I'm coming from. Anyway, that's my spiel. And I do see lots of UFOs. I do see lots of UFOs every now and every couple of years. Yeah, but that's another story for another day.
Oh, what? I'm not surprised you do. Is it just you see them, or does Mary see them too?
No. Well, she's actually sort of they look like satellites, but I've got Jim and Robert's actually seen the photographs I took in 2016, and they are interesting. And I'll show them to you at a later date. And
okay,
that's another story. That's
keep their tongues wagging.
Yes, my
Now, I don't know who wants to chit chat more, but I do. I wanted to share something funny with you, Jim. Do you know? I worked in motion picture and I did craft service. I was a snack lady. And one of my number one clients, because I had them for several years, was Lockheed Martin and Raytheon.
Oh, okay.
I trained all my new girls. I did all the HR videos. Like, don't touch your coworker. Don't do this. Shut the filing cabinet. All these. We just did the snacks and all that stuff. And I trained all the new people because they didn't pay very much. But that was my Lockheed Martin story. But as far as ufology, you're involved in the craft side of things, correct?
I have believed in UFOs since I was a little kid. I mean, I saw War of the World, not H.G. Wells' version of it. When what's his face said it in the 1930s, but the 1953, vintage. And I honestly believe, but I have, and even when I was in Desert Storm and Desert Shield, I had access. Everything I saw was secret to eyes only. That was my clearance. I could see everything that the president saw or the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. And I kept looking for UFO activity and stuff like that. I never found any. Never, there were never any. There were never any aircraft I couldn't identify. But I've been searching for, hoping to see a UFO forever. And I've been out at the Black Mailbox there in Tippecanoe Valley, which is just east of Area 51, with no moon, sun's gone down, so dark you can hardly see your feet. And I'm thinking, okay, abduct me. If you can read minds, abduct me. I mean, I've seen things in the future, so I know I have that ability. So I'm concentrating very, very hard. And I've never seen anything I can't explain. And it's frustrating. And when I go out, I live in Tucson. And we have the neighborhood, the area I live in is Oro Valley. We don't have any street lights. And very few people have their lights, their exterior lights on. So you have an incredible sky. We have super clear skies. We don't have any pollution other than politicians. And I'm out there every single night with my dog. She wants to just go out there and to keep her from barking, because I have a ass lives next door. And we were about ready to get Scarlet. She's our German Shepherd rescue. I heard her say, "Oh shit, Goodall's going to get a goddamn dog," and I'm going to just be listening to her barking all day long, all night long. So I go out of my way, but I am looking up 99% of the time, and people I know have that live in the area. Matter of fact, the young lady who took over the new MUFON Association here in Tucson, she shot a triangle north of downtown Tucson. Now I'm north of downtown Tucson, and I was out the night she was out there looking, saw it, photographed it. I mean, it's clear. It was a triangle with the three lights, and I have not seen a thing. But I have interviewed dozens of pilots and friends who have seen stuff. I had a friend of mine, he's since passed away. Matter of fact, they've all passed away. Chase went in an SR-71, left him in the dust. My boss in the Minnesota Air Guard, Major General Wayne Gallon, I said, "General Gallon, I got a question. Let's assume for a second, I was enlisted. I retired as a master sergeant. I said, let's, for instance, I'm an F-4 pilot. I'm over Lake Superior, and I encounter a UFO. What do I do once I land?" He said, the first thing you do, go through, you go through your post-flight, briefing, go take a shower or do whatever you do. Then go to the old club, slam down 2 or 3 really, really stiff drinks, and go back to your billet, and just forget what you saw. I says, "Why is that?" And he said, "You go out and report to the commanding officer or public affairs or OSI or whomever that, hey, I just chased a UFO. Your career in the United States Air Force is dead." They're not going to do anything derogatory towards you, but they're going to have it's almost like, a piece of dog poop on your 201 file. I mean, that's how they're going to look at you. And it's, but I have never seen anything. And I go out there and I've laid out in the desert near Area 51 at night in my sleeping bag, just looking straight up and, sort of, I can see from horizon to horizon, nothing. And that just upsets the daylights out of me. I really want to see something. And someday I will. And my thought when I was thinking there in Tippecanoe Valley, I wanted to be abducted. Let me bring either my iPhone or my Nikons with me, so I can get some documented proof that you guys are real. I know they are. I have never had any doubts about it. Mm-hmm. And when I was up at Kit Peak National Observatories, we had a beer and pizza. I think it was more like pop and pizza. I don't think they had any beer because it's at the University of Arizona. And it was the head of the astronomical division of the Department of National Science Foundation. And he said that he had just returned from a session, worldwide session on exoplanets, because they were looking for exoplanets at Kitt Peak. They have 22 optical telescopes, everything from a 12-inch to a 13-foot primary mirror, big telescopes. And he said that based on, and this is worldwide, every astronomer, every organization that looking for UFOs met at this one international function. And they came to the conclusion, using proven mathematical formulas, they calculate now for every star in the universe, there's 1.5 planets. And that's a number you can't cram you can't even cram the decimal points in your head. There's so many of them. And that out of that incredible number, they estimate between in the neighborhood of 2 billion, that's with a B, 2 billion Earth-like planets orbiting a similar size brown dwarf star as our sun in the inhabitable zone with liquid water. And Jodie Foster character in the movie Contact said, it was Carl Sagan's adaptation from his book, if we're the only ones, what a waste of space. And somebody else wrote on it, and I can't remember the person's name, it's kind of famous philosopher. He said, basically, what's more terrifying, to prove beyond with a shadow of a doubt that we're alone or we're not? And every time I go out there, I say to outside at night, even when it's bitterly cold, I want to see something. And I'm gonna get the lawn chair out by the far side of the pool, so I don't get any lights from inside the house, and just look up and just scan, and nothing. Yeah. And I've been doing that.
Wow.
I've been doing that for the 11 years I've lived here, and I still haven't seen anything.
Oh, wow. In all your studies and all your knowledge, have you come across the stories of those talking about bioluminescent crafts? I know my friend Patricia Above was talking about that. I have a few friends that's what their experience. It's like a living entity. That's their craft that they've seen. Does that resonate, or have you heard those stories?
No, but I have seen the future multiple times, and I was telling my first wife for 7 years, about once every 4 or 5 months, I'd make a comment. I keep having this same recurring dream. I'm going to be in downtown San Francisco during a major earthquake. Now, I grew up in the Bay Area down the peninsula, and I have family over in the East Bay. So for me to be staying in San Francisco would be unusual. And I'm in the corner of Geary and Stockton. It was October of '87 when they had the Loma Prieta across the Bay earthquake, because it was the World Series. And at first I thought someone had blown up my magnums. It was right in the corner of Stockton and Geary. And I OJ'd over the front of a car, didn't even touch it. And I was pretty heavy at the time, and I just went right over it. I'm standing in the middle of the intersection. I said, somebody blew up my magnums because all the windows came blowing out. Then I look towards Market Street and I see rubble. Oh, shit, we're in an earthquake. So I tell one of the guys who worked for me, we were at a convention there. He said, let's go stand in Union Square where nothing can fall down on us.
Okay.
Because this is either a preview of coming attractions, or it was the big one, but we're going to have another earthquake aftershock in at least 30 minutes to an hour. 24 minutes later, boom, another one. Said, well, we're not going to have the big one today. So we went back to our hotel. We climbed up 21 flights of stairs, and it was an old 1920s vintage hotel. They just finished remodeling it. And all our stuff that was on one side of the room was on the other side. And I go into the bathroom and I turned the tub on. I'm filling the tub up. And John looked at me and says, what the hell are you doing that for? You gonna take a bath? I said, no, that's drinking water. I don't know how long we're gonna be stranded here, but I know one thing for sure. I carry my MREs right here.
Okay.
And I can last 90 days without food. I can last 3 days without water. So that's what that's for.
Water's the big, yeah.
So we went up to the roof down in San Francisco. Like I think Rob McEwen, I think Mark Twain said the same thing. The coldest winter I ever spent in my life was my summer in San Francisco. San Francisco can get really chilly. So we went up to the roof called Shannon Court. We went up the top. It's a full moon and it's 85 degrees in October. That is weird. And I looked around. I didn't see a light bulb burning anywhere. And I looked at John. I said, "Let's get the hell out of the city. I don't want to be here when anarchy starts." Well, the Governor Jerry Brown and Mary Alioto, Mayor of San Francisco, on all stations, radio and television, made a statement. He said, "If anyone gets caught taking advantage of this event, we will charge you with the absolute maximum fine, maximum jail sentence for anything that you do." And it was probably the 1 or 2 nights in the city of San Francisco and the Bay Area where there were no murders, there were no holdups, nothing. And I'm thinking, this is, it's a disaster, but there's a gold lining in it, or silver lining. Well, we drove down Skyline Freeway into Palo Alto, the Mountain View, Los Altos area where I grew up. And the lights were on in Palo Alto. So I went into a restaurant. It was really jammed. And we're waiting in line. I decided to call my wife. And I said, "We had an earthquake in San Francisco." I said, "My God," they said, "the whole city is destroyed." I said, "No, it was a few buildings, a bridge, some part of the bridge collapsed, the Marina District, there's damage there, but we're okay." And that was that. Mm-hmm. One of my clients was on the 41st floor of the Meridian Hotel, and he was thrown from one side of the room to the other like 6 or 7 times. He packed his bags, ran down 40 some odd floors to Market Street, ran out, flagged down a cab. I said, "Here's $500, get me to Sacramento. I'm going to catch a flight out of here." We drove him to Sacramento. There was no flights available. Drove him to Reno. They drove him to Reno, and he flew out of Reno. He said, "Even if I win a $2 billion Powerball," I mean, we didn't have Lotto back then, but the equivalent, "I would never come back to the West Coast." He was that terrified of it.
Oh,
yeah,
gosh,
yeah. And it's I mean, it was just quite an experience. I was in Alaska during major earthquakes. I was underneath the Hollywood sign during the Northridge earthquake.
Oh, wow.
I was in an intersection. So I know what an earthquake feels like. And they're terrifying because you can't see them coming. Yeah. And once they start, you don't know how long they're going to be. And once it goes away, when's it coming back? You're sitting there in pins and needles.
Yeah. And
the last big earthquake I was in was the Nisqually quake up in the Seattle area. I lived on Whidbey Island, and I had a 96 Impala SS, and it was souped up and about 450 horsepower. And I'm at a stoplight on Max Welton Road there on Whidbey Island. And all of a sudden my car starts going back and forth like this. I said, "Oh my gosh, I lost half a bank of cylinders on my car." Then I realized, no, the trees are going this way and the signs are going this way. I was in another earthquake. So, but I've had 3 major recurring dreams, and they keep coming. One was I was going to be in San Francisco for a major earthquake. That came true. The second one was so outrageous, and I had it off and on for 10 years, and that was 9/11. I watched wide-bodied aircraft hitting the World Trade Center off and on for 10 years prior to it happening. And it was so outrageous, I could not tell anybody. And my third one I keep having is I'm going to be in Seattle when the Cascadia subduction zone decides to rip. The entire 800 miles. They figured it's going to be a 10 on the Richter scale for 10 minutes. And there will be nothing left from I-5 West.
Shit. That's me.
No, that's Washington State, Oregon, and Northern California. But the Cascadia subduction zone stops where the other big
Andreas
and
Andreas?
the San Andreas starts.
That's where I'm near.
Yeah. All right.
Boy. Well,
It's
so
not-
you picked up on that. Okay. So you're not picking anything yet. I got some
No,
time.
but I know I'm going to be okay. I do know that.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
people that are near and dear to me, people I
Yeah.
don't like, not so much, but people that are near and dear to me, they're going to be fine.
They're going to be fine. You know, that last one we rocked and rolled in Ojai. It was just a couple months ago. Do you remember that
Yeah.
one? We were like 5 miles from Ojai. We just happened to
Oh.
be in Camarillo that day with the family. And I stood up and I remember thinking, I didn't drink today. And I'm just
I
like,
haven't had that much
What?
to drink. What the hell
What?
happened?
and then it came and the kids and everyone wrote like I plopped down. But the thing is, we went to visit my giant's aunt. And when I woke up till I got there, I'm like, I don't want to leave home. I want to stay home. I don't feel like going out today. Like I was feeling it. And then we were there and it happened. And it actually was a nice roller. It was smooth. And we got home after that. But you worry about what's going to come after that. And we were raining a lot too. So that was a little nuts. But
Now, the Good Friday earthquake of 1964 was on March 27th, which was my 19th birthday. It moved up, down, or sideways 9 to 10 million square miles. Mount McKinley grew 4 feet.
Huh.
Kodiak
Wow.
Island tipped. It dropped down about 10 feet on one side, raised about 10 feet on the other.
wow.
In downtown Kodiak, there's a passageway, and across that is called Goat Island, and that passageway between Kodiak Island and Goat Island was empty for almost 2 hours, and it's about 400 feet deep. Seward, Alaska, Resurrection Bay in Alaska was empty for over an hour, and when it came back in, it took a diesel locomotive, switching locomotive, and moved it 3,000 feet up a mountain.
Jeez.
So.
My goodness.
But
Well,
it's now
yeah.
Robert's turn to terrorize the world.
I was going to say, before we can get Robert in here with some synapse, just a shout out to the chat. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for playing. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe and share.
You know the thing.
You know,
Yeah.
tickle the thing.
Oh.
What is it?
Yeah, that's what I say. Tickle that
know,
little
that's
thing down there, you know.
That's it. That's it.
As Jim will tell you, I'm a sick bugger.
You are. He's a pervert.
Oh, thank you,
Not a
mate.
P,
Hey,
not a small P.
look, I've
Capital
worked
P.
hard all my life. Is that why people run out the park when I wear a trench coat? Well, I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
He's the pervert of Perth.
Yeah.
yes.
Oh,
Proud
gosh.
of it. I 73 years in the making, mate. Why not? I'll wear it like a badge.
Woohoo. Hi, Chasity.
Hey, Chasity. How's it going?
Hello, Jazz.
Cheers,
She's a sweet.
Chasity.
She's a sweetie. Yeah.
She's going to come on and play soon, too.
Oh,
So
good.
I got some peeps coming. Well, Mr. Robert, I mean, I guess it's a pivot because I guess we can chill on the earthquake talks.
Yeah, I mean,
But-
we all know what's shaking anyway, right?
Wait,
We hope
bacon.
so.
Bacon.
What's shaking and bacon?
But I have wanted to ask you, as far as crafts and UFOs, and kind of like my friend brought up earlier with the bioluminescent lights and everything, frequency match. Do you feel like that frequency, you need to be in a certain frequency to have contact? I mean, that can start you on a 40-minute journey. Go right ahead.
Yeah, and I do have some show and tell.
Oh, nice.
So
Okay.
we can do that as well. But just from a general perspective, the way that what my opinion is of what the answer to your question might be is that you don't have to be in tune with the frequency. You simply have to be aware of it.
Mm.
And that awareness is something that we are in our consciousness, the way that we just function normally, or the attributes, the characteristics of our consciousness is always in vibration. Everything's in vibration. Everything's a frequency, and because everything is energy.
Mm.
Energy expresses itself in frequencies. Frequencies are the waves that we either resonate or don't resonate with. And there's all kinds of delineations and degrees of which that happens. But to the bioluminescence, that to me, the explanation is that's the manifestation of those frequencies.
Mm.
So you're either, it's like Jim and even Terrence in their stories had, similar things. For the most part, they were isolated and focused. It was a very personal experience. But there's thousands of examples where a whole bunch of people saw the same thing. And they all were in that resonance to be able to observe it and experience it. But there's also people that were in there that were experiencing it that didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, not everybody saw the same thing, right?
I was thinking that. Have you all heard? There's so many names in this industry, but my gal pal and I went to Isetti Ranch in 2020, and I got to use those. Someone was asking you, Jim, about those night vision goggles. If you had a really good army pair, I was using those, and with my naked eye, you could somewhat see, but with those suckers, yeah, it seemed like it was a party going on up there. There was a lot happening. But then the person next to you is like, I don't see anything. Even when they see it, they don't see it. So I was like,
to me, that's how I define the whole paranormal world, is that are those things real? Yes, they are to the people. Do we have telemetry where we can capture it? People are doing the hunting thing, and they come up with some pretty bizarre stuff that you look at it and you go, I don't know, maybe you got something there. But for the most part, the paranormal type experiences, and I'm excluding UFOs from that category. That's a different anomalous frequency expression, in my opinion. But the paranormal stuff, disembodied, non-corporeal spirits and stuff happening, portals opening and stuff happening, that to me is just the manifestations of energy and frequency.
There you go.
Thank you, Chasity.
Share that.
That was it's amazing how it works when you take a shower, which I did before the show, which I normally don't. So
that's so cute. But check this out, Robert. Look what Pancho says here, because this is what I'm thinking of when you're saying that, like just reaching up and closing your eyes and tuning into that vibration. You brought this up on someone else's podcast, I think, when you were talking about music. We're all time travelers because we hear a certain music and we transport to that time. It sounds like they're talking about that kind of experience. They're shutting their eyes and just tuning in.
Well, cool, are you familiar with the CE5 with Greer's?
I am.
Model,
I'm familiar with it, but I haven't tried.
So the whole idea is essentially, and what it sounds to me like, it's a combination of meditation, remote viewing protocols, and so forth. But it's essentially Greer's approach to how to make contact with the aliens and have a positive interaction with them. And it's very conscious and protocol oriented, which is what remote viewing is, which is essentially what I see all psychic phenomena that we all have as a part of our consciousness, because psychic abilities are an innate attribute and characteristic of the consciousness that animates us, in my opinion. So when you see these things and you have these experiences, all you have.
Dr. Strange Love is what
That's what I was thinking of. I'm like, I can't think of it. What does he look like? Sorry. So sorry. You were on a roll with your synapses. And I was like, let's have a laugh. Okay. Sorry.
So, well, and that's, and then I guess it's time to do a little show and tell, because it'll kind of tie this in. The idea, to me, and the vibration and frequency, what Tesla said was some of the most poignant and to the point concept of reality. And that is, if you want to understand the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration.
Yep.
And
there we go.
It's that simple. We have a whole bunch of math models, men and machines, creating a bunch of magical constructs to define things that they can't prove, black holes and all of these different. What's interesting to watch is that every time we get a new toy, they start finding stuff that contradicts what they thought or they didn't think they were going to find, and they go, it's like the Big Bang is really getting a big bump right now, because the latest telemetry
27 billion
20,
years?
over 25 billion, which is at least doubling the previous number. So I have fun poking at some of these folks who are just, they get all ground up about it. And I say, well, the only thing you got to deal with is the fact that your math models, men and machines need some tweaking because they were obviously wrong. And you need to be careful when you start pushing dogmatic, established, this is truth, when there's no way you can say it's truth.
Yeah.
I love watching Neil deGrasse Tyson go on about black holes and gravitational constructs and the constants, and it's like none of that stuff. If you spend 10 minutes in some search, you will find enough information that clearly identifies, one, there is no proof, two, it's apparently an assumption, and three, they're teaching assumptions as dogma to the students who are getting their little stamped piece of paper that they can't afford and will never be able to pay back because the ROI on the product they assumed debt for was crap. So I'm kind of wondering, just on a little side note, with all this student loan forgiveness and all this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
the first thing is, there's just the lesson of learning to make commitment and sticking through that commitment is a very important part of growing up and maturing to become a positive, productive person in the population.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of those things. So just at the base level, that's the most important thing that I think is not being talked about as much as it should in this whole forgiveness thing. Goes into the whole reparation thing, which we're not going to get into, but staying on the school thing. So if you assumed responsibility for an asset and that asset ended up losing money on the asset that you just went into debt for, that's a fundamental economics, financials. You got to understand that that's how our society works. So that's the first lesson. The second lesson is, what made you think that product, what kind of analysis did you do before committing to that debt and know that you were committing to something that was going to have an ROI? There is no ROI in these things because it's a bunch of poor product, which is the third thing. So you need to understand responsibility. You need to figure out, how did you make that decision to assume that responsibility? And then you got to look at who sold you that responsibility. And to me, this is the thing that it doesn't have the visibility and the noise level that I think it should. The institutions, and this is one of the many examples, my little education rant, of what we're seeing in the decay of knowledge and meritocracy, all of the things that I know us old geezers grew up on, which accountability, responsibility, and you had to get off your own and go do your thing. Nobody was going to do it for you. All that's changed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But those are fundamental concepts that every society and the people who made things and got things done and made more of it, that was the fundamental concepts of the engine that made it go. So you look at who sold this. I mean, you could draw an analogy to buying a car, buying a house. You're going to be able to afford or buy something that has a value, that has enough of its own infrastructure, regulations, and so forth that keep it kind of in certain bounds. There's a market for houses, a market for cars. Well, there's a market for this knowledge. Mm-hmm. You go to get a doctorate, you're probably going to be able to go get yourself a pretty good income. But if you're getting something in liberal arts or some kind of trans fluid anomalous identity thing, if that's going to cost you $50,000 and all you can do is go flip burgers with that degree, I think you need to understand, do more analysis. You're not doing enough analysis. But
Mm.
these institutions that are selling this stuff are not being held accountable.
I know.
And if you're going to do
And that is the thing that blows me away, because Harvard, Yale, MIT, these guys have tens of billions of dollars of endowments.
And talk about an underground tunnel system under those.
Yeah.
Just saying.
And that's right. That's just the surface I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting. I had a little chat with my son because he got these. He does woodworking. He really likes it. So Santa invested in a really nice leather-bound case, like really proper tools. And he was like, wow, this is exciting. And it kind of led down the road of conversation of, you master a skill set, you're good. Don't worry. You have a career. And what's cool is his main educator is this man. He's a Viking. His name's Bjorn. And that's one of his not only passion, but he did it for a living for a long time. So he showed him these carvings. He showed him how you can take your skill set and make a beautiful living at. So yeah, I'm ready to see the collapse of those kinds of systems.
My son James spent a year at the University of Wisconsin in Menominee.
Mm.
I said, well, there was probably a reason you went there, you didn't know about it. And he said, well, why is that? I said, because your great grandmother's family gave that property to the university system.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That happens a lot, huh?
Yeah. So he wanted to use his hands. He became a journeyman carpenter. He's now a construction superintendent, makes $140 a year plus bonus and a free vehicle every 3 years. And he has friends that are his same age, are just absolutely dreading having to pay back their student loan, where they got it for philosophy or some type of studies. What are you gonna do with that?
Mm-hmm.
And he just laughs at him. He says, I went to 7,000 hours of hands-on work to become a journeyman. That's more than 7,000 hours is more than you'll put in going to college. And you're not, and it's being paid the whole time. He's not going in the hole for $100,000, $200,000, $300,000.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nuts. And then you have the professional student. I've known a couple of those, that they're 65 years old. They've never really had a real job. And they probably have 4,000 semester hours of every course that's ever been offered.
I know a few of those. A few of those.
Yeah, and they're worthless. They produce absolutely nothing. They consume our air, and they don't put nothing back. They flush a lot of it down the toilet, but that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about frequencies. I'm drawn to people and rejected. My body rejects people based on their energy, based on their frequency. The moment this old son of a bitch up here, the one from down under, and Robert,
he's over you now.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh. I mean, and I knew immediately that we were transmitting and receiving on the same frequency, and the same goes for you. It is a feeling. I've had people walk by me, not say a word, and I could feel the negative energy.
Yes.
And on the other side of the coin, I've had people come by that all of a sudden I am drawn to them. And I talk to people in elevators. That's the type of person I am. Sometimes it freaks people out. But if someone
you're that voice I hear behind my head when I'm trying to get off this elevator.
Well, I mean, a good example. I was in the IDS building in downtown Minneapolis. This is 1,000 years ago. I was working for Xerox, and I'm going up to the top of the IDS building. It's 52 stories, and I'm a sense person. I love senses for my eyes, for my nose. I don't hear for squat, so that part's out. But I'm in the elevator, and some woman comes in, is right in front of me, and she's wearing the most incredible fragrance I had ever encountered in my life. And I said, "Ma'am, I'm not trying to hit on you, but what are you wearing? The fragrance is incredible. And she got so freaky, she started pressing buttons and got off on the next. I said, geez, that didn't go over well. Well, about 10, 15 days later, I'm in the same building going up. I usually have lunch up there. And another woman came in and she had the same fragrance. And I said, ma'am, please don't be offended. I'm not trying to hit on you or do whatever, but you're wearing a fragrance that I find absolutely delicious. What is it? I said, it's opium. Go across the street to Dayton's. No, yeah, it's
a good one.
But it only works on brunette people that are naturally brunettes. My first wife is 100% Scandinavian, blonde. I got it for her, and it didn't smell the same. My second one was Greek. She had black hair. I put that on there, and it was the magic all over again. So it's the sense, it's the energy, it's what people radiate. And there's my dog. They say if your dog doesn't like you, I'm not going to like you. And I used to ride with my Harley with a guy on Whidbey Island. And if we're going to meet, he'd say, "Oh, let's meet down in Clinton, which is a town right off the ferry terminal." But every once in a while, he'd come up to the house in his Suburban. He'd drive in. We had an invisible fence. He'd drive into the driveway. Charlie Brown, which is my 130-pound German Shepherd, would go out there and would sit there and go, just growl. He was an ass. I knew it. But he was one of the very few guys on the south side of the island that liked to go riding on our Harleys. But Charlie Brown would not let him out of the vehicle. And and when you have a 130-pound long-haired shepherd and he sort of fluffs out when they're in a defensive or offensive mode, you can sense it. And I feel the same way. Dogs know. If my dog doesn't like you, then I shouldn't like you either.
Yeah.
So Terry, never come to my house, okay?
Well, no, don't worry about it, mate. No, I will now. Don't you worry. I will now.
Our energy and Robert's energy and most everybody I run into in the UFO crazy environment. And I feel welcome here. This is the only time I've been in part and parcel in a group of people or an area of interest that after 6 months or a year, I'm bored with that and going somewhere else. I look forward to talking with Terry. I look forward to talking with you. I look forward to my hours long chats with Robert. And that's what makes me tick.
Ah.
By the way, I thought Robert's got a presentation for us.
I was just going to ask, does he share with you?
Sorry about this, Jen.
No, hell no. If I was a good one,
you're stealing Robert's thunder here. You know, you know that, don't you? I mean,
if I was a good-looking woman like you, he'd probably share it with me. But
he's got a good cover in his face now. He's got his breath back now because I was worried about him talking earlier on because he wasn't breathing. It's like he's constantly talking, and I'm saying, "Take a breath, Robert. Come on,
thank you,
take a breath." But now he's got good color in his face now. So
I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to learn that circular breathing that you guys do with the didgeridoo.
Oh yeah,
right. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So that way I can talk without taking a breath. And so if you see me experimenting, you just know that's what's going on.
Yeah. So didgeridoo or didgeridoo, huh?
Well, didgeridoo didn't either.
Robert, give us our presentation. We're sitting there.
Okay.
Yeah, is this the polls? Is this the polls one? I want to see those again. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
That one. Yeah, that was last week. No, I don't have that loaded. I can load it up though.
It's just suitable for children, by the way, Robert. It's just suitable for children. I mean.
Yeah, this is all.
I'm a child at heart, mate.
This all falls within the guidelines of the wonderful platform that we're using to share the information that we are all engaged in. None of it is copyrighted. None of it will be struck or deleted or amended. At least that's what I think.
That's known to be wrong, though.
Okay. Let's see here. Where is there we go. Present thingy. and
Okay.
the screen thingy. You know, the thingy.
Oh, I see it. I see it. How do I reach that one? Oh, I got to get rid of bees here.
Wait
Sorry,
a minute
Mr.
here. Sure sound.
Oh no, I can't do that one. I see it down here. Here we go. But you know okay. Oh, there it is. Sorry, guys. do tech.
Okay. Oh, okay. Well, I've got a set of tabs up here. I'll just get the plug out of the way. This is the Nexus new website, the Nexus
Woo!
Nexcast new website.
Nexus Nexcast.
So I've got some shows, the latest shows that we've done up
Awesome.
there, and some previous shows, and a little informatica going on, and then the news reports. So that is that.
Awesome.
And it's on Rumble.
Awesome. And that's like a relaunch, correct? Because you started
Yes,
making
I
some
am
videos.
relaunching.
Yeah.
It's been under a hiatus for a few years while life got in the way. So life
Sure.
moved aside, or actually I'm pushing it aside because I want to do this again.
There you go.
So
Awesome.
let's see. It's also on Rumble.
There we go.
And it's on YouTube.
Hey, there we are.
Ta-da.
Here we are.
Got me feet in my face. Yeah.
We're getting fed back to ourselves. And let's see. And then this is my personal website with all of my stuff. So
Awesome.
if you want to hear any more of the drivel I spew, just go to robertbauer.com and you'll find it.
Woohoo!
It comes with a big shovel.
Yeah, you got to bring your own boots, but we bring the shovels.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Hi, Garrett.
So what I've got up here is the frequency spectrums, the metrics and the matrix that we manage, or that we are aware of being able to have some kind of interaction with. And this is the first step, and this is very two-dimensional. But what's very interesting about all of this is that it's multidimensional. It's three-dimensional. It's four-dimensional. When we see a sine wave on an oscilloscope for frequencies, we see it in a flat two-dimension, but it's actually moving in a toroidal, circular movement. All frequencies move like that. Okay. So we have these different wavelengths that we've put numbers around and then give them categories and call them things. Right in this spectrum with the rainbow pyramid is all our senses can pick up naturally. This is also how far the frequencies that we don't see, that we don't experience, how far they actually penetrate the atmosphere. So there's an interaction between all of the energies that are going on in reality that we inhabit, which comes from consciousness, which is why we have access to them. But you have to look at these frequencies. What does this kind of look like? What does this remind you of, this line here with these dashes on it? Does it look like an old-time radio?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
That
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
You're just dialing into the station you want?
Like tuning into that frequency.
That, to me, it's that simple.
Wow.
That doesn't mean that it's simple to do. It's
Mhm.
just that that's the way that it functions. And the ability to dial into, to tune into a frequency set is a conscious effort. It's a conscious existence. It's how you use your mind, not your brain. Use your mind to tune into these frequencies. Now, I was talking earlier about how the Big Bang is getting a big bump because of the new stuff coming out of the James Webb Space Telescope. See where it says infrared here? That's what the James Webb is looking at, that band. So all of the stuff that just doubled the age of the universe, they found that information by looking here, which is outside of our range.
Didn't they say when they were first playing with the James Webb Space Telescope that they were looking at 4 galaxies purely in red, because they're looking in the red zone, and they said, well, that can't be right, because based on our calculations, we know that work. This is 1 billion years past what we think is the beginning of the big boom. And that was the beginning when everybody said, oh, I guess I'll throw my thesis away because all of a sudden it just became null and void. Back to you, Robert.
Yeah, the problem, you're exactly right. The problem with the whole Big Bang is that all of and this again goes back to the point I was making about the education system and the amount of dogmas that are actually assumptions in all the different knowledge disciplines that they teach, that they hold lord over.
Yeah.
And which is another, I'll just toss this little nugget out there. What we're seeing is not only transformation of all the infrastructure and the systems and technology and institutions, all of it is being completely, it's going through a transformative disruption, which is one of the reasons so ugly and smelly out there. But a part of one of the important things that's also happening in the midst of this melee is the transformation of authority. Any concept of authority is getting, it's going to get its due in its day, because the authority is what's been lording over all the information that has been set up and established as officialdom. And all of that officialdom data is turning into a collapse of the silo. That little knowledge domain is just, there's so much data that's showing that the established perceptions, concepts, axioms, all of the stuff that they define that little knowledge domain by have just come apart. And it's not just the media and the academic and the governmental and all of the, even technology, this whole AI thing, watching it is, especially for one that are in it, it's one of the most entertaining big tech things in a long time. One day it's a magic, next day it doesn't work. Another day it's we promise this. It's almost like the whole science, the climate crisis crap, which is complete crap. And there's all kinds of data that backs that up. Most importantly, and the thing that is, to me, causing the internal implosion of all of these institutions and the way things are administered, governance, it's all falling apart under its own failure. Its inept incompetence is on full display. Pick a discipline. Is there anything that you trust anymore?
I know, right?
Nope.
That's so tricky.
Right?
Yeah. Myself,
I mean,
my intuition. My intuition.
That's all you can.
My heart tells me it's
Yeah.
right or wrong.
Yeah. 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 There. No, go ahead.
That's the point. And I think that's probably what you were going to go on, Heidi, is that if you don't, you have to be your own you have to use your own discernment and discrimination while you're using your judgment to determine what you resonate with.
Boom. Yes.
And all of those words, with the exception of the resonant thing, because that's still beyond most of the folks, or it's got, some affiliation with the New Age group and so forth. But if you're using discernment and discrimination to judge things, and you are doing it overtly, that's when you start putting out resonance that doesn't bounce off everybody else as well. But what's bizarre is that that's how you think. That's how we work. We use our discernment and discriminate that discernment, the information, and then we make a judgment on it. That's how we think. So to be told that any of those things are bad is an assault on your ability to think and therefore be, or be because I think, and experience reality from the resonance that you experience.
You reap what you sow. You literally reap what you sow. You want to think negative, you're gonna get bad results. You gotta up your vibes. You gotta up your positive way of thinking, and then it all comes back at you. It bounces back. Everybody with people are sounding boards. You know, I mean, you can ask any woman. A woman doesn't tell her problems to a person for you to give them an answer. They're looking at body language. They're looking for sound to bounce. They're looking for sound to bounce back at them because they hear their own voice, you know, and you know, and yeah. So it's how.
Well, that was brave, B. That was brave. I mean, yeah.
But
you just dropped that little one out there.
True.
But
it's true though. Yep.
True.
Yep.
You know, and as I said, always say, you know, you walk down a hallway, if you've got a smile on your face, other people look at you now, smile back. But if you've got a frown on your face, people look at the floor. They want to avoid you. It's you don't have to say anything to put out these negative vibes. I mean, people pick up on it very much so. And unfortunately, and it's sad to say, the whole world's gone that way now. You know, nobody trusts anybody else. And you know what? Makes no difference if you're in China, Russia, Yugoslavia, Poland, bloody South America. People like you and I with their families, we love our families. We don't want war. None of us want war.
Right.
You know, we're interested is be able to go to work, come home, feed our families and love our families and spend quality time with them. No one wants to see their child go off to war. But the very few elite that control the system, and that's a corrupt bloody system, right? They don't go to war, and 9 out of 10 their children don't go to war while they're sitting in their bloody big fat asses, excuse my expression, knocking back expensive champagne, talking about statistics, you know, of collateral damage. You know, it's your kids, their kids, whatever. They don't care. You know, they don't. They don't. They don't
hear that.
And well, just negative. That's negative, and that's and we feel it. We see it.
Right.
We feel it. And if we complain about it, you're not a patriot. Hello. Now, being a patriot is one thing. Creating genocide is another. You know.
Yeah.
Sorry, Robert. Back to you, buddy. I just had my little rant there.
I'm used to it.
I've been quiet there for a while, and I thought,
what's that?
And don't ever start me on global warming because Robert knows how I feel about that.
I know.
That helps to prove that I'm a patriot.
Well,
look at there you go.
27 years to get that.
See, there you go.
Yeah.
But can I say real quick, Robert, but B, just like you were saying about, but everybody's like that and everybody's doing that now. That's another frequency to tune into because I find when I'm having a shitty day, I run into the shittiest people. When I'm having a stellar day, it's just like, it's Truman Show stuff. It's
like a magnet. It's like a magnet.
Yeah. You reap what you sow. You reap what you sow.
Yeah.
Now
don't let other people's problems be your problems. That's the secret too.
Right. First, thank you so much, Lakeside Laura. I saw you subbed. Thank you so very much. I'm a little booming channel. I'm looking for some tribe. So thanks, guys. Thanks for
you have me anytime you want.
Thanks, pal. I'm tipping up on that. Speaking of Lakeside Laura, she asked if any of you had read Stalking the Wild. I'm not familiar with that, Lakes. Okay. No. I'm gonna write that down. We'll try that on another episode. Okay, go ahead. What are we looking at, Robert?
Well, this is the previous one. We were essentially looking at radio waves and light waves and the frequencies of those. So this demonstrates using the metaphor of a piano, all of the sonic, or what we call our the musical system that we use primarily in the West, the East, and in Asia and I mean, some of the microtonal things that go on down there would just make us go RCA dog on it. You know, it's like, what is that? But this is just to give some relative reference to frequencies and sound. So this is the keyboard, right? You have C, the first position of C, all the way up to the 7th. And what you see is each note having its hertz, its relative hertz. So down here, our auditory system basically functions around 100 hertz to 20,000. And that's the range that we kind of hear things. And where anything that's above 20 hertz, that starts moving into animal kingdom, dogs, and so forth. Below that, you're not hearing it, you're feeling it. Below 20, you're feeling it. It's that rumble. It's kind of like some of the earthquakes. You get the vibration of the frequency of the earth movement. You can feel it before you hear it. A lot of times. I was in Silmar 71 and another one.
Me too.
And we had the chandeliers. You remember back in the shag rug era when we had shag rugs and corner groups, and we had that hanging glass ball.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's just the disco ball.
Well, it wasn't quite disco, but it was old school.
They're
that's for
in
sure.
now. They're in again.
Hey,
Those
not
balls.
forget
They
the
got
lava lights. The lava lights. We also had lava lights.
Oh, sure. The lava lamp.
So if you see the frequencies, right? And this is all based on the 440, which is the natural harmonics tweaked. And this is by the Pythagorean comma. So I'll just throw this little thing in real quick, because this, I think, is a very interesting point, and it's important. Up until the Renaissance, there was no standard tuning of instruments. Everybody had their own key that they would tune the instrument to. And then they started, when people started getting together and trying to play things together, they realized they had to get some tuning organized, because otherwise it just didn't work. So before the Renaissance, to play an instrument like a harpsichord or a piano, and to play it in one key, you could do that. But if you wanted to play in a different key, you had to retune the instrument. So what they did is they figured out, and this is basically from Pythagoras and the Hermetics, they realized that the natural harmonic scale, if you went to the 5th note in the natural harmonic sequence and you tweaked it mathematically, that you could then tune to that key, to that scale, and you could play in any key. So it stopped the whole concept of having to stop and retune your instrument if you wanted to play in another key. So everything from Bach to the Beatles and everything after that, and before and after the Beatles, is all done to this mathematically tuned natural harmonic sequence. So that's where we get this set of frequencies with each note. And that's what we hear. That's all the music that we know of in the Western world. Like I said, you go down to India or Indonesia, over into Asia, you're going to hear keys and notes that are way outside the 12 that we use. Microtonal.
To get super hippy dippy, they align with chakras too, correct? The hertz, because is that why, like, the cello just always makes me weep and open my womb? Like, it's the deepest, most, but I feel like something unlocks every time. There you go.
Since you mentioned it.
There you go. That's boom.
So what's interesting is if you go back to all the frequencies in the first slide that had the rainbow pyramid. Okay. All of those frequencies, there was also the level, you might not have noticed it, but it showed how much of these frequencies penetrate down onto the earth. You get in the Schumann resonance, 7.8 hertz is basically where it functions, but it actually is a fluctuation, I think, between 7 and around 43, 45 hertz. And it's a natural modulation because it's a part of the cycles of energy and the way that they flow. But it has a range. Just like going back to the keys. So there's a range with each of these. And this is just, again, very interesting because it goes through the instruments. So if you hear a tuba, they're down here in the 349 about to about 3 hertz. But if you look at a violin, that's a roughly 196 up to about 3,200 hertz. So if you think about what you hear and what you see based on these metrics in the matrix of the stuff that we are able to sense with the only thing that we all have, which is the personal empirical reality. And that means the experience you have. It's like what B was talking about. And Jim, whatever you have in a personal experience is all you can count on. Everything else is at a minimum speculation, and a good chunk of it is just total bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you really have to make sure that you're using your discernment, discrimination, and judgment of what it is that you're dealing with. How the content that you're consuming needs to be filtered at a minimum through those filters that you need to spend time on. You got to keep them clean. You got to keep them calibrated. You know, you have to make sure you're paying attention. Because if you're not, then you're going to get overrun by stuff that you don't want to be overrun by. And as I usually say, be careful of what you consume before it consumes you.
Mm.
As I say, Robert, and I've been saying this for a long time, in ufology today, we hear so many stories, and that's what they are, stories. I mean, we've got authors, we've got writers. I mean, we've got people writing about stuff. They're claiming it's true. I call it, they're cashing in on a cult, like sci-fi cult. It's either Stargate or it's Star Wars or it's Star Trek. And, you know, I mean, they don't call it the Federation of, they don't call it Federation and
GF, Galactic Federation.
Yeah, and you've got the Galactic Federation. They're only copying Star Trek. I mean, it's just in a different. I mean, hey, but people don't realize it's an industry, and there's a lot of BS out there. A lot of BS. Now, I'm not saying it's all crap, right? But you really got to be concerned of what you're going to take on board, because they can talk about Stargates as much as they want. They can talk about, you know, secret, Space Force, they're going to such and such planet Centauri or something like that. I mean, I don't know, but I don't take it on board as fact. Everything you read in ufology is basically speculation without fact, without proof to put it in front. Now, you can build up a case, of course, of say, 20, 30 people saw the same thing. Yeah, okay, I'll take that on board, saying, okay, not everybody's having hallucinations, so I can take that as truth. But when somebody says, I got whistleblowers here, and I go, well, I mean, how many whistleblowers does a person have? And if there are so many whistleblowers, well, you've got a bloody security problem in your country. I mean, the government should be pretty worried about the security leaks, quote, right? And I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, look, you can't even find out what's supposed to be really going on in Area 51. Half the stuff in Area 51 now is in Pine Gap in Australia. Why? Because Area 51 has got the attention of the world.
Yeah, Area 51 is like on everybody's radar, but Pine Gap and now in Alice Springs, that's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, and who's running Pine Gap? Not Australian government. It's classed as US. It's classed as US territory. Do you know our own Prime Minister is not even allowed on that site?
Not
even allowed.
when they announced a couple of years ago that Tucker Carlson, it was 2019, and a government spokesman said that there are craft not made of this earth overflying our military installations. So I sent out an email to a person I know who worked for the NSA, and I got a response back within from the time I hit send until my hand was back on my keyboard, I had a response. She said, and she was in Pine Gap. It says, I can't tell you what I know, especially not on this platform, but they're here. And I've been trying to be in the same hemisphere as she is now for about 10 years. And I mean, if I'm in Hawaii, she's in Germany. If I'm in London, she's in Australia. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, there's an effort to keep me from sitting her down and say, okay, there's no one around. Spill your guts.
Your reputation precedes you, Goodall. You know it. They're tracking your ass. They know where you're going.
No, I don't know
who you're talking to. They're not going to let you get away with it.
Let me peel my suit off.
Yeah, I don't know if you allow mild profanity here, but John,
I can smell the skunk works all over you, Jim. I can smell the skunk works all over you, buddy.
Yeah, this is in June of '96. John Lear, the famous John Lear, and I are at the fence line at Tonopah Test Range. It's at night. It's 11 o'clock at night. We have our lawn chairs. We've taped up our pant legs with duct tape to keep the scorpions from crawling up your legs. We both have Generation 1 night vision goggles. And there are 3 armored personnel carriers heading. We're in public lands. And the south side of the fence is restricted area. And we see 3 armored personnel carriers coming on, their lights off. So I stand up and yell real loud, hey, we're good guys, we're taxpayers. And all of a sudden, boom, we had floodlights on us. I had 3 little red dots on my chest. Lear had 3 little red dots in his chest. And about the same time, there's a vehicle coming down the public land side, stopped behind Lear's pickup truck. And on his bumper, it has Area 51 visitors pass. So that helped. And this gentleman comes around John's pickup. He has his hand on his Beretta. He's in Desert Utilities. He says, I'm Captain so-and-so with ASI, stood for Advanced Security, Inc. He says, you're in a restricted area and I'm ordering you to leave. I said, sir, I don't know who you are, but this is public lands and I don't need your permission to be here. I said, you're in a restricted area. And I pulled out my government-issued aeronautical map. I opened it up. I said, according to this map, the longitude and latitude of the restricted area to the second is such. And if you look at the base of that fence post down there where my buddy's standing, is a USGS medallion that gives the longitude and latitude to the second. I said, I can be here for 15 consecutive days without asking anybody's permission. I want to see some ID. I said, well, who are you? Well, I'm Captain so-and-so with ASI. I said, you're a rent-a-cop. You don't have jurisdiction on this side of the fence. And he doesn't. And you can just see his jaws tighten up. I said, I've been deputized by the state of Nevada to uphold the laws of the United States government, Lincoln, Esmeralda, and Nye County. I said, well, good for you. So I want to see some ID. I said, I don't have to show you squat. And he's getting more and more pissed. And he says, I said, well, I'll tell you what. You show me yours, I'll show you mine. So he hands me his ASI badge. I give it back to him. I said, sir, that's not a valid form of ID. I need something issued by the state or federal government. And his jaws are getting that much more. I mean, he's almost ready to have lockjaw. So he hands me his Nevada driver's license, and I don't have my reading glasses on. Okay, so I lived in Minnesota at the time. Lear lived in Las Vegas. He pulls his out. He hands it to a guy on the south side of the fence. And we didn't hit 90 minutes, by the way.
We did. We passed. Okay, go ahead.
We surpassed it.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. And who was on when that passed?
Oh,
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm
I
just
told you,
saying.
Hottie, you won't get
Yeah.
a choice,
Well,
girl.
I
You
know.
won't
Yeah.
get a choice,
Yeah.
girl.
So-
It's
I know.
all-
Here,
So-
you finish the story, and then we'll.
So
yeah,
this guy comes from the south side of the fence. The ASI guys gives him both our driver's license. He goes to the supervisor. Now it's about 11:30 at night. The supervisor turns the light on, and I hear, "Oh shit! It's Goodall in there. The lights went off. The red dots went away, and they dispersed."
Oh,
So yeah,
ooh, look at
Yeah.
you!
yeah. I'm
Wow.
I'm too well known in that part of the world.
That's
At Dr. Greer's Disclosure Con in June, the Dennis Hecker is a U-2 pilot.
Eric-
He's
Oh,
he's retired. He lives in Alaska part-time, Florida the rest of the time.
Mm.
And when I introduced myself, I am Jim Goodall. Says, "I know who you are." I said, "Okay." So maybe because I know Bob Lazar, so maybe that helps.
there you go.
So that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Awesome. I'm just impressed you went to reach for your map and they didn't do anything then.
Oh, we were
Like you were
well
able to
lit.
pull something out. Okay, good.
We were well lit. I mean, we have
Good.
3
Well, if
floodlights.
somebody had an itchy finger, and
Oh, yeah. But there's too much paperwork.
I know.
Yeah.
Have Jim will travel. That's for sure. Have Jim will travel.
Yeah, that's
Gosh,
me.
I know what you're saying. These guys. So I was telling my pals here, and they're not guests. You're my friends. I'm telling my friends. I'm like 90 minutes, guys, because
Oh,
we've been
we
on
got
talk
close. We got
3
close.
hours. Oh yeah. I love it,
you're
and that's the
kidding.
thing.
You're kidding. It'll never happen. Never
Well,
happen.
It's
Well, it
there's
hasn't
never a
because we're
lull.
over it now.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And she's
There's
still
no
yapping.
That's
Yeah.
what happened.
Yeah.
But,
Oh no,
oh,
no.
you know,
yeah.
I'm
Well,
super
well.
grateful.
Hey,
I'm. Oh,
I
Go
got a
ahead, Jim.
question. I don't know if you can answer it or if you want to answer it. I travel a lot, and I'm in LA. I go up the coast. I'm all over the place. Would you be willing to meet for lunch or a cup of coffee?
Absolutely.
I absolutely. I mean, it's
so
such.
great.
I don't know if I want to make that old fart up there in the corner.
And
but-
he calls me a dirty old man. I don't
Yeah.
know.
No. I just I
You're
I
playing
like
my
I
life.
like meeting people in person that I feel comfortable with.
I would absolutely be honored. That would be
Oh,
lovely.
oh,
Yes,
okay,
yes.
okay.
That's if you see my rant from earlier online too, that's my bit on here. I've met so many people in these communities in the flesh, and they're not exuding the same thing they're exuding online. So it's like, who is authentic? And
yeah.
a lot of them are, though. I mean, a lot of some amazing players, but to be able to meet you in person would be divine. And then you will
Oh,
see,
that would-
all
that
right,
would
yes,
please
she's
me.
authentic.
So it'll probably be sometime this month.
Awesome, perfect.
Yeah.
And Lakeside Laura, yeah, maybe we'll have to go live when we do that.
Oh,
Have
yeah,
a
that'd
video
be great.
coffee chat.
Coffee, yeah. I
Awesome.
would be honored and I would be delighted.
Let me know when it happens, because I'll take Mary out to coffee shop, and we'll go live from the coffee shop with you.
Oh, that'd be
Hey.
fun. Yeah.
We'll have
Right,
coffee
so-
talk. When
Yeah.
we'll talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
just
you
put
can
a bunch
say-
of-
you
put
can
a
say
bunch
hello
of-
to Mary.
Put a
and-
bunch of sheep dip in my mouth and watch New Zealand. Never mind.
yeah,
kangaroo
right,
shit, yeah.
okay.
No, no.
Yeah, okay,
My
mate.
first
Yeah,
husband,
okay.
my
Don't
first
worry,
husband
our
dipped.
drop bears will get you, mate. We've got drop bears here in Australia.
Yeah,
You know?
okay.
So koalas, we call them drop bears. They're deadly, mate. They really are.
Yeah.
I have to say, my ex-hubby, my first hubby, was a dip man, and I did the cut on accident once. I did a big gulp. So
Oh.
he dips. Yep. That's why he's my ex. I'm just kidding.
Oh, that's rough.
Oh,
I can't even
Oh.
think about it.
I have a
Okay,
lot of,
I
I
don't know
have
why
a
I
lot
did
of
that.
those. So
Yeah. See, I can't let it go. I know what you're talking about. You feel the energy and you're like, we can't end it now. But you know what? We got to keep their tongues wagging for more.
when
So,
I met, I met Robert on Mr. B's program. When I
mhm.
met Robert, I knew I was going to like him. I could feel the energy, through through the idiot box or computer of mine. And it was the same energy, but about, to the 10th power higher when I met him. And it was fun. I mean,
I can imagine.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
yeah, no, it
Shoot,
would
well,
be.
I'll road trip again too, and I'll visit y'all. New Mexico and Arizona. I get told a lot I look better on camera.
Hey, not forget,
So you
right?
can-
Hey,
you
not
can
for,
tell
no,
me.
let's
No,
not forget.
you're a good-looking woman, no matter how you
Hey,
look.
hey, let's not forget Brian Singh here. Brian Singh's a decent dude as well.
Very nice. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Awesome. Well, I'm honored that you all are here. Let's do a little plug round just in case anyone doesn't know who you are, but I have a feeling everybody does. Mr. B, where can everybody find you?
Oh, dear, my God. Yes, I've got a Facebook page called Terrance B, Truth Seekers. And I have a YouTube channel, which is called Mr. B and Friends, Truth Seekers. So, hey,
But he doesn't have any friends, so.
Oh, stop.
No,
I forgot to make these. I forgot to make these banners, so I will add those links. I will
Oh,
definitely
okay.
add all these links. I don't have mods or anything yet, everybody.
anyway,
So.
I've thoroughly enjoyed it, mate. Thank you for having me on there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Terrance. Thanks for the nudge for the reach out so long ago when you just kind of tucked me under your wing a little bit. And I mean, up in the middle of the night, he's making things, asking me if I can, give my opinions and stuff. I'm like, go
I'm the one
ahead.
staying. Hey, I'm the one staying awake with arthritis, bad neck and pain. Yeah,
Oh.
try to sleep. Hey, try to sleep. I might as well get here and go.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
We got to send you some frequency healing. We got to do
Yes,
that for you.
Yes.
No, I don't. I don't have a
Right.
website like most everybody else here has. I waste enough time on my computer as it is. But I'm a writer. My 29th book was just published, and
By the way, Robert, while he's looking, he complains about you not calling him back. I'll text him, and the bugger doesn't text me back.
Well, see,
yeah.
I
What
know.
do you mean? What do you mean?
know what I
by
mean?
that?
You read what
Because
you
he's
sow,
too
eh?
busy. It's because he's too busy
yeah,
signing
I
books
know.
and shipping them out.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. He's Nautilus to
And
Columbia.
it's thick.
Nautilus to Columbia, that was, right?
Yeah, it's a book that covers all 227 nuclear-powered submarines built or under construction for the United States Navy. My last book was,
ladies.
my
There,
last book
ladies,
was
get out and
Skunk
buy
Works.
that book. You can hit your old man over the head with it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Or you can use a bulletproof vest. Put it in there. It'll stop probably at about page 250. But I am I'm a writer. You can if you're into black airplanes or submarines, everything I do is stealth pretty much.
I know we didn't even talk blackbirds. We gotta get in here. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm
29 books,
I'm,
isn't it,
I'm the world
Jim?
foremost authority on the Lockheed family of blackbirds. And but you can go to Amazon, look books by James, middle initial C, last name Goodall, and you'll see my hardbound books. Last 7 of them are all hardbound; the other ones are softbound. But I'm a guy who hated term papers, and what I do, I write. So,
Isn't that amazing? That's so cool.
and you don't make money. You don't make money being a writer.
29 books, is that correct, Jim?
Selfless.
Pardon,
29 books?
29.
29.
Yeah.
Marvelous, mate.
Okay.
That's
Beautiful.
an achievement.
Yeah.
That's an
And
achievement.
you have hundreds of videos out there too on YouTube. So all your stories, I love it. We'll have to get you for another one.
Absolutely.
And Mr. Bauer, you got to give your plugs. I saw that before, but
I
congratulations
got a
on your
little
launch.
squeeze. I got a little squeeze in there, but the simplest way to find everything, my music, my philosophy, my social media, my podcast, my voiceover is at robertbauer.com. And from there, you can find all kinds of stuff that take you to whatever I do.
Awesome. Oh, that's beautiful. Perfect. And I'm all over the place socially. I don't have a web page, but I'm on all the socials. I have a link tree with everything. And I actually just created a little YouTube just for the Synaptic Circle. So I'll be adding that on here soon. So I really want to see this grow a little bit because, we bounce off each other so well. So why not keep it going? On that note, thank you so much for tuning in to this first episode. I will be back every 2 weeks. That's my commitment to myself to doing this. And I have Nick Reeder and Zachary Fisher up next. So if you by chance are on Facebook or social medias, you'll see them powerhousing frontline digital warrior, lifting the vibes.
If you get to a point where someone drops out at the very last minute and you need another talking head, give me a buzz.
Awesome. I absolutely
Same here.
will. And in between those every 2 weeks, I might just I'll just hit y'all up. We'll do the every other week then. And I'm
Yeah,
going to
we
give
did.
you your time slot back, Terrence. Terrence B actually, he gave this slot because he's in Oz and this is when his show is airing. And that's when we could all get together. So another selfless act for Mr. B. So thank you so very much. I'm going to get back to you. I might switch to Friday.
I'm still with family. I'm still with family. That's all that matters, you know.
The four of us right here, I would be proud to be seen with any of you. I don't care where or what or whatever. And that goes for a good majority of the people in this community.
And I'll speak for yourself, Jim. I was just reminded I'm going to be on Midwest Night Watchers tomorrow night on their regular show. So there's another place where I'm going to go flap my yap. So come on by.
I get to go on there next month.
They're great. Gerald and Jane are great.
I love them. I cheered in New Year's with them and you, Mr. B. I was trying to jump around.
Yeah.
See
well,
everybody.
I'm having to have Preston Dennett on my show soon, and also he's co-host as well. So yeah, that'd be interesting, Dolly, and that'd be interesting once I organise it. They said they will come on, so I'll organise that soon. So
awesome.
Anyway, guys, thank you very much, Odie.
All right. Thank you. Thank you to everybody. Thank you. So don't forget to hit like and subscribe. I got to do that. And cheers, everybody. Thank you so very much. Kind gentlemen.
And your program is going to be very successful because the hostess with the mostess.
Oh. It's the circle dress, isn't it?
It is. It's the red.
We got the memo.
Pink.
Yeah, the pink, the fuchsia. All right, beautiful. Cheers. Thank you, Laura. Thank everybody in the chat. That was beautiful. Thank you very much for sharing your frequency with us. So cheers, everybody. I'll see you in a sec, fellas. Toodles.